Hello, everyone. Welcome back once again. So today we have one more special guest on our episode, and he's going to share a really special insight about Amazon forecasting and specifically Amazon supply chain, specifically Amazon supply chain topic. So before wasting our time, let's invite our special guest, Fabrizio Miranda, and he's going to share a really special insight. Hey, Fabrizio, how are you?
Hey, how's it going? It's nice being here. Thanks for inviting me.
Perfect. So Fabrizio, so let's start with your background, how you can start your journey in Amazon industry, and how it's been going on so far.
Yeah, it's a quite a long story, but I'll try to make it short. So I'm from Brazil originally, and last thing I did in Brazil was the sale of a water treatment company. I decided to move to the U.S. to raise my kids here with my wife. Needed a work visa, opened a hedge fund in Manhattan, was working on Wall Street, hated everything about it, but was working on Wall Street when I met a guy opening an Amazon store. And that changed my life because at the time, I didn't even know that was a business. I thought it was something that you would do on the side. I didn't know there was really real money around it. But this guy was very capitalized, very smart. So I decided to join him in this venture. And long story short, I'm in my fourth company in the segment. And living the dream, as I say to my friends, or the nightmare. It depends on the reference.
Perfect. So as you mentioned before me, you also the co-founder of world largest retail marketplace. So can you tell about how you can start from there and how you can working right now in a supply chain industry for specifically Amazon seller to help Indian to resolve their forecasting issue? So how you can go from there to here and how you can manage multiple companies right now? What strategies you have used?
Yeah, so I don't have an executive position anymore in the other companies because I'm focused 100% on Fleabr. It's the hardest problem to be solved in retail and the biggest one. There's $1.8 trillion in losses only due to stockouts and overstocks every year in global retail. So it's a huge problem to solve. Very extremely hard, much harder than I thought when I started this. But I was lucky to join a group of people that was very connected and had the ability of managing businesses. So we started with this company to sell products on Amazon called 𝐎𝐔𝐓-𝐿, and from there there were some branches that went from there. The first of them was Sellers Funding, which is now called 𝐮𝐳𝐿, which I co-founded with my partners, and now it's run by Ricardo, who was one of those partners. Then Quartile, which is the advertising platform, which is run by Daniel, and very smart guy. And Quartile is today one of the biggest, if not the biggest company in this segment. And then Fleabr, which I run, and was founded in 2019. So from 2015 to 2019, we founded these four companies, and each person ended up running a part of it.
Perfect. You have a really solid background. And so let's go on our main topic, which is Amazon inventory solution. So let me ask you a very basic question. When a brand need to focus on their Amazon inventory forecasting, and what the main step they need to follow that, how you can give the roadmap for starting purpose?
Yeah, so when you're starting a business on Amazon, and I went through that, so I can tell the whole story that all the challenges that I went through. In the beginning, it's all about growth. It's all about making a business, having something that actually is able to sustain itself, to survive. And I would say that before you reach $1 to $2 million a year, your focus should be 100% in growing and making this work. Of course, if you can do that in an organized way, it's better because the data will pay off in the future. So whatever you have that is very messy, that you don't have control of the data and things like that, it's going to bite you in the future. So try to make everything very organized, but don't worry too much about a lot of structure at the point, because it's all about trying to build a business. Unless you have a lot of money from outside investors and you're in high growth, which is what we had at 𝐎𝐔𝐓. We were able to grow to $12 million in the first year. because we had enough capital to make that growth. But unless that's not the case, you shouldn't worry about focusing on that too much. But then when you reach the 1 to 2 million and you start having a business, now you need to start worrying about making a sustainable business, which is a business that actually generates a margin. And everybody thinks that the success in retail is about selling more, and it's not. The success in retail is about having the best operations. You make money when you buy your product, not when you sell the product. If you buy the wrong product, take to the wrong place at the wrong time in the wrong quantity, you can be a master of sales and marketing, and you're not going to make money. If you buy the right product, take to the right time at the right place in the right quantity, you don't have to be a master of marketing. You will likely make money because you have organized your operations. So that's the rule. I think every company beyond $2 million should have an inventory system. That's what's going to make them survive.
Perfect. Yeah, especially if you are selling on Amazon, there have some most of the roadblocks for inventory management. If we have selling outside of any marketplace, like we have selling on Shopify, so we have our own warehouses where we can stock on a daily basis. If we can stock out, there is no problem. But unless if you are selling Amazon marketplace, if you can go out of the shop, your ranking will drop. You have faced really high roadblocks in your overall Amazon business. So that's the thing we need to focus on Amazon inventory solution, and you also provide very great insight. So let me recontinue my question. So the next is when we reach 1 to 2 million, as you mentioned, so either we need to make our system for own self, or we need to hire some inventory manager or operation lead for that. If hired, so what's the criteria of that?
Yeah. So in the case when you get to the 2 million, you're not yet in a moment where you need to, like, for example, have an ERP or have something more robust. You are in the moment where you have to start organizing your backend, organizing what happens in your company, so that you can have control of the data, more visibility of what's going to happen. And Fleabr is all about visibility. So I usually say that most people think that the secret of an inventory planning is having accuracy in forecasts. It is a little bit, but it's impossible for you to be 100% accurate. You're never going to reach 100% accuracy. I was just talking to a customer yesterday, and she used to be a customer of Fleabr, left Fleabr back to spreadsheets about 2 years ago, and now came back. And she was saying, no, I need 98% accuracy on my forecast. And I was saying, it's impossible. You're never going to get 98% accuracy in forecasts. What you have to do is, knowing that your forecast is 80% accurate, knowing that you have to buy more to get to the service level that you want to keep. So if you want to reach 98% of in-stock rate on Amazon, you need to buy more than the median in an 80% accurate forecast. And this is hard for people to grasp because they think it's a magic like ball. You're just looking at that thing and it's going to tell you the future, and the future is going to be perfect. And it's not. So all of that said, the power of visibility is the biggest power in Fleabr and any system that you may have. So what you want is to know exactly how many units you have today, know very easily what are the open POs and transfers that you have. For the transfers to Amazon, for example, know how many units you have received up to now, how many are pending. Have an idea of how long it takes for Amazon to receive your units. Understand what is going to be your future inventory position day by day. If you're going to have any gap between the moment that you run out of stock and the moment that the next batch arrives, so we call it intermediate stock out. If you're going to have an intermediate stock out, how you're going to deal with that? You can maybe bring things by plane if you're bringing from a supplier, or you can ship, try to send an SPD shipment as soon as possible to Amazon to cover that period. And if your lead time is longer than the time of stock you have, you're going to have a final stock out in that period. What do? You bring something by plane, or you talk to your supplier. So all of those things are able to be done because you have visibility of the data. So as I usually say, I prefer to have an 80% forecast accuracy and 100% data visibility than to try to have a 90% forecast accuracy using a spreadsheet to manage my things, right? So just to shift a little bit the mindset of people. It's not about accuracy. Of course, accuracy is important, but it's not about accuracy. It's about data visibility.
Perfect. I also agree with you. If you have a great data, so you have ability to forecast everything, not 100%, but you have some high potential to correct everything in your Amazon inventory side. So recently, my one client asked me about the upcoming peak season, how we can plan our Amazon Prime Day, how we can plan our Q4. So this is my favorite question, which my client asked me, and I would say I will give you the exact answer. Just give me this session with Fabrizio, and I will get back to you. So let me tell you what the pathway I am going to give them, and also the listener who is listening to us, how they plan their Q4 and Prime Day, also the Black Friday.
Yeah. You know, that's the reason why I built Fleabr, actually, because I understood when running 𝐎𝐷-𝐶licks, I understood that all the money that we either made or lost was due to stock to inventory. So as I was saying, the right product at the right place in the right time in the right quantity makes money, and any wrong loses money. And but we had 4 times more sales only in the peak season period than in the whole rest of the year. So it was very critical to have the right product at the right place at the right time, in the right quantity during peak season for a business to stand. And that's how I started building the embryo of what became Fleabr later. But the first thing that you need to have is a very good visibility of your seasonality. Each product has a different seasonal pattern. The seasons don't actually repeat themselves exactly year over year. It might have differences in the way products sell because of different things. Like, for example, if you have a toy, the toy might be very in a successful, very, oh my God, I forgot the word, but in a trend, in a positive trend that year, everybody wants to buy that toy, and then you were going to sell a lot more than you sell usually, but maybe next year it's going to not sell that much because it's out of fashion already the following year. So knowing trends, understanding not only the seasonal pattern, but what is the trend of that product? Is it in a downward trend, an upward trend? Is there anything external that impacts in that product? So all of those things, which in the end of the day comes back to visibility, having visibility of all that data and being able to project future data. That is the number one thing. Number two thing is that people don't understand how important it is for you to feed the right data to the forecasting algorithms. You can have the most modern forecasting algorithms, but if you feed a data that is faulty, you're not going to have a good result. So an example of that is you run out of stock, for example. When you run out of stock, you sold 0 units, but you didn't sell 0 units because people didn't want your product. You sold 0 because you were out of stock. So you had demand, you just didn't have the supply of the product. So when feeding the algorithms, it's very important that you do not feed that with the 0 units. Otherwise, the algorithms are going to think that you had 0 sales, and then the demand was 0, and then it's going to forecast the new 0 sales, which will make you in an out of stock position again. So being able to work with the past, understanding the data in the past, normalizing that data for anomalies and for outliers. So you had on Amazon, you don't have that, but on Shopify, we have a lot of customers that have influencer campaigns. So you have an influencer campaign, sales just go up out of nowhere. There's no changing price, no change in inventory positions. It's just sales just go up. How you deal with that. So all of those things are very important for you to have. And we built all of that inside of Fleabr. We have a step, which is the pre-processing of the past sales, which is embedded in our forecasting step. And only feeding the right data increases in up to 40% the quality of inventory. So right data of the past, understanding seasonal patterns and trends, understanding your limitations inside of Amazon. That's a very important one because Amazon has a lot higher fees whenever you are in season versus out of season. So understanding that, and maybe during off season, you're going to keep 30 days of stock of your products, but maybe in season, it's better to keep 15 and send 2 times more frequently the batches than sending once 30 days of stock because of the cost that you have inside of Amazon. So all of those levers that you can understand and have visibility of and consider when making your replenishment, they're critical for you to be successful on Amazon or outside of Amazon. So that's why, if you don't have some kind of software, if you don't have anything like a spreadsheet, cannot give you even close to that kind of that level of understanding. So if you're a $2 million plus dollar business and you're using a spreadsheet, you're leaving a lot of money on the table, and maybe your business is going to be it's going to be harder for you to make it work than it would if you had an inventory system.
Perfect. A great explanation. I got most of the points. So let me ask one question, which I think is really important, which is, as you say, you need to put data in any software tool so you can accurate result for that. So let's say if we accurate our sale, our past sale, and we can plan based on our past sale what sale we have for our next inventory, for our next reordering. So is that good, or we actually need some tool to get that solution, to get that result? What do you prefer?
No, it is. If you have your past sales, you can start making all these decisions. The problem is that when you have the past sales in a spreadsheet, for example, spreadsheets were not built for you to manage a big amount of data. So it's not a big data kind of tool. It's an analytics tool. So it was made for you to build reports and understand scenario analysis based on certain variables, but not to process vast amounts of data. So whenever you have products, you have the past sales, and you have a spreadsheet, you're usually going to just put a moving average. You're gonna calculate the average sales of a certain period of time, and then that average sales will become one cell. So in a cell, you have what they call sales velocity. Whenever someone talks about sales velocity, it gives me, it makes me go crazy, because sales velocity, the simple concept of sales velocity, is an oversimplification because of the tool you're using and not because of what you need. There's no such thing as sales velocity. You have a sales pattern today, and you have another sales tomorrow, and another type of sales next week, and another type of sales next month, and another type of sales during peak season. So there's no average sales velocity. It's just the sales are going all over depending on the patterns at any given time. So on spreadsheets, you cannot do that. So on spreadsheets, you're oversimplifying things because of the limitations of the tools that you're using. Another example, if you have inbound shipments, all of the customers that come to us and they show the spreadsheets that they have one column for current inventory balance, which is the on-hand inventory, and one column for on-order inventory that is still not on hand. And then they sum both, and they say, okay, so I have 30 on hand plus 60 on order, so I have 90 available. And they start making all the calculations over 90 units of inventory. But the 60 that you have, first, it might be multiple shipments arriving in different times. Second, one or more of those shipments might arrive after you run out of stock of the units that you have on hand. All that information is extremely important, because first, you're going to have a stock out. How do you know that? Like in the calculations you have on a spreadsheet, you don't know that you're going to have an intermediate stock out. Second, you might, if you have a stock out, now you have a certain number of days out of stock that you are not discounting from the next order. So when you order again, you're going to overstock, because you're ordering more products than you actually need, because you think you're going to sell during those 10 days, but you're not going to sell during those 10 days because you're not going to have stock. So all of these oversimplifications, because of the tool that people use today, which is Excel spreadsheets, harm a lot the business that you have. Of course, when you're a small business, the harm is smaller, but as you grow, it's a big harm. It's a big hit that you have in your business. So that's why I keep advocating and saying, guys, the tool that you guys are using for that is just not the right tool. So yeah, I look to sale. I sound too salesy, but that's not my intention. My intention is just to show the limitations of the tools that people were using for something that was not made for that tool.
Yeah, great. You are not sound salesy. You actually educate people based on your knowledge. But the point you have sharing, I feel is really deep and is really actual thing that people are facing in their daily business. They facing a lot of out of stock for their inventory. They drove a lot of ranking on Amazon Marketplace.
Yeah.
So if I am also recommend people, also my own client, if you actually selling over 6 figure, so you need some tool, you need some inventory system in your backend or in your in-house team or in your agency team that accurately manage your inventory forecasting and your restocking. So let me go over one more question, which is how do you describe what the scalable inventory planning system actually look like? Like if you say the actual system is just you need to use a tool, any inventory tool, or you actually need some SOPs, some other system in your backend that help you to done the work perfectly.
Yeah. Once more, as you grow, each stage has a different need, right? So when you have a lot of people working around the same processes, you need an ERP tool, for example, to organize that work, right? So the all the flows, and so it depends on the level that you are. And I don't think you need an ERP before you reach 50 to 75, maybe $100 million in sales. You don't need an ERP because before that, all you need is maybe an inventory management system to be able, if you have a lot of different inventory locations and want to route the orders for the right fulfillment warehouses, maybe then you need an inventory management or order management system. Certainly, I think the first, not because I have Fleabr, I don't care if people use any of the competitors. My intention here is not to sell Fleabr, but of course, I think the first thing you need to do once you reach the 2 million is to have visibility of your future. So that's why a tool like an inventory planning tool is extremely important, because it's exactly what will give you that visibility. And the inventory planning tool will also give you visibility over what you have to do in your sales. A product that is overstocked, you might be better off if you sell that product at cost, maybe even losing money, but you're going to unleash the capital, untrap the capital that is trapped in that inventory that is not churning, right? And people also usually don't understand, especially people that are new in the segment. They think that companies die, retail companies die because they are out of stock and they can't sell. All the retail companies that die, they die overstocked. They die rich in inventory, poor in cash. That's why every time you see a retailer closing, there's always a stock sale, final stock sale, because they were full of inventory. They just couldn't churn that inventory. So be very aware about overstocks as much as you are about stockouts. I know that stockouts hurt because you don't sell, but overstocks is what's going to kill your company. All of that visibility you can only have when you have a tool that gives you future visibility. So that's why I think the inventory planning is the first step that you have to do. Of course, SOP processes, any operational processes are very important, and that I think is important since the beginning of the company. You don't even have to wait until you have $2 million in sales. You need to start from the beginning in an organized way, have very clear SOPs. That is going to help you operate better, collect the right data, not have deviations that are going to kill your business out of nowhere. So that is critical. SOPs are critical. Now, systems that you need to put on top of it, once more, I think inventory planning in the very beginning, it's very important. I think having a good advertising system, also not trying to sell Quartile, but advertising is much more than an art. If you use a software that is able to take big chunks of data, analyze that data very easily and very fast, and make very quick decisions, you're going to be better off. The world is moving towards AI. AI has capabilities that a person with a spreadsheet doesn't have. And you see that even in investment companies. You see the high frequency trading platforms, they are performing a lot better than people trying to make decisions based on data that is already antiquated, because the high frequency trading platforms are making decisions based on what happened 1 second ago, while a person is making decisions based on what happened hours ago. And that change from seconds to hours is brutal for when you're competing against people that are in a better position than you are. So very important to have an advertising platform. Very important for you to, as you grow, to get inventory management under control. You need to know how many units you have today. Even if you use a 3PL or an Amazon, for example, it's already something that's going to start biting you. But as you grow and have maybe multiple warehouses in the 3PL, have multiple marketplaces, have your own e-commerce website, potentially you're selling wholesale, knowing exactly how many units you have today, understanding the routing of each one of the orders, that is going to be also very important for you. But you can be a little bit further down the road. And then, of course, when you reach a certain number of people, ERP is very important for you to also deploy.
Perfect. Really great point you have shared right now. So let me go our last question, which is what the data point actually I need to weekly track for my client to go avoid the stock outs and to avoid the overstock for our own client. So how we can plan everything?
Yeah. So first thing you need is your past sales with the prices that you had in the past. So if you have the past sales in units, past sales in dollars, you can already understand what was the average price that you had per day. Ideally, of course, a system that is more robust, like our system, is able to understand the sensitivity of the price. So we also normalize that. So if you increase price or reduce price, we're not considering that changing sales, because we're normalizing for the price variation. So there's a lot of things that we do with the past data. But if you don't have all the sophistication, just having how many units you sold, what was the average price, being able to eliminate, even if it's manually. I gave a webinar the other day that was voted, my presentation was voted the best. And the only thing I said was, hey, every day when you get your sales, put that on a spreadsheet and put what would be the sales if you didn't have any anomaly happening, like a stock out. That's all you need for now. Just do that for a while. After a while, you have what I call the past sales adjusted. Adjusted past sales. And then when you start using AI or anything further down the road, your data is much better than if you just get the data from the Amazon report. So spend this few minutes per day, first thing in the morning, open your spreadsheet, put how much would be the sales if you did not have the anomaly, and keep it there. That it will pay off in the future. We do that automatically, but if you want to do that in a spreadsheet, you can do that in a spreadsheet. So past sales is the first thing. The past sales and all the past sales behavior is what's going to generate the future sales forecast. So understanding how much you're going to sell in the future, any given time, is the second thing. How many units you have in inventory today of your items. And that unit in inventory is very important for you to understand how much of that is reserved so that you cannot use because it was sold, for example, or how much of that is then the next thing, but it's connected to that, is the POs and transfers and how many units you're going to receive at any given date. Of course, if you have products like 2 SKUs that are the same product, that happens a lot on Amazon. You're going to send products to FBA. Your listing is suspended for some reason. You create a new listing with a new SKU. So now you have 2 SKUs with the same ASIN. You have to connect them so that the sales are connected. We also do that automatically. If you have kits or bundles, if you're selling, especially if you're selling on Shopify, it's very easy to assemble virtual bundles. So you are going to get, or kits, virtual kits. So you're going to sell, this little ball and 6 of those. But in your warehouse, you're only keeping these little balls. But when you receive an order for the bundle, you just put 6 inside of the box instead of 1. That happens a lot on Shopify. Amazon is a little harder because you have to send the products to FBA already kitted. Amazon now has a kit or a bundle, but it's not very developed yet. The benefits, financial benefits, are not there yet. But anyways, kits and bundles really important, because when you need to replenish this ball, you need to know what is going to be the sale of this ball individually and this ball in all kits and bundles that this ball is present. So all of that is extremely important. So it sounds complex, because it is, if you want to make it right. And that's why people end up making, so many simplifications that end up hurting their businesses.
Perfect. So let's cover up just some of this and give you get you your opinion on being going out of stock or being going to overstock with that inventory. What your opinion? What is good? So how do you think what is good? Being out of stock or being overstock with that inventory?
None of them.
Because
so
sometimes
you shouldn't be out of stock or overstock. So out of stocks are going to hurt your ranking if you're on Amazon, or going to make you lose sales, are going to give room for your competitors. So there's a bunch of problems with out of stock. Overstock, you're going to have money that is very valuable, literally, that is going to be trapped in overstock. And so, overstocks is the best thing to talk about is, let's assume you have a company and I have a company. Your company, you don't want to run out of stock. So what you do is you operate with a very high number of days of stock on Amazon, on hand. So you operate with, let's say 90 days of stock. And let's say that I am very efficient and I'm able to operate with 30 days of stock instead of 90 days of stock. So now you have 60 days of stock more in money in your inventory that I don't have. We sell the same thing. We sell exactly the same thing, but I keep 30 days of stock. You keep 90 days of stock. You have, 2 times more money in inventory, only trapped, 3 times more total, but only trapped is 2 times more than I spend, that you're not going to use for anything. While I am getting that money and I'm investing in my growth, I'm bringing more products, I'm expanding to different channels, I'm doing more advertising. Who's going to win this battle? Of course I'm going to win this battle. And we started by having the same amount of money, selling the same thing. But the fact that I was able to become very efficient in inventory and not be overstocked while not also running out of stock makes me be able to grow 2 times as fast as you were able to grow. And that, compounding that over the years, in 5 years, I don't even compare to you. I'm selling $100 million and you're selling, 5, starting from the same position. So that's why running an overstock strategy, which I see a lot of people doing. When we started seeing the aggregators, Amazon aggregators, at some point, Fleabr had 40% of that market. All of them used us. And it was very funny because 100% of them, since they had a lot of money, they were just raising tons of capital. 100% of them were like, no, we don't care about overstocks. We operate with 120 days of stock because we don't want to run out of stock, and money is not an issue. The result is, you can see the result, because that shows, if you run such a company, that shows how you think about operations. That shows that you don't understand anything about how retail actually works, and you don't understand that overstock is what's going to kill your company, right? So I would be more afraid of overstocks than stockouts after you reach a certain level of sales. As I said in the beginning, being stocked out is going to harm you more, because it means loss of sales, loss of ranking, and you're still in a position where you don't even have a real standing, sustainable business that's going to be able to generate, the capital that you need to not only pay yourself, but to give the return to the capital that you're investing that you want. So after a certain point, overstock is, I would prefer to be stocked out, of course, in limits, than to be overstocked.
Perfect. I am also agree with you. And That's it, everyone. Hope you get some valuable insight out of this episode. And thank you so much, Fabrizio, for joining us. And we will see you again in the next episode. Have a great day, everyone. Have a great day, Fabrizio. And thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Have a good day, everybody.